Hey everybody, welcome to Camel City Chat. I'm John McPherson, and I am here with my guest, Christy Bellis of The Go-To. Mm-hmm. Now see, when I booked this with you, it was The Go-To Winston-Salem.
Yes, it still is.
But things are changing.
They are changing.
So, we'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. But you know the rules. So, where are you from, and how long have you been in the area?
So I'm originally from Northern Virginia, right outside of D.C.
Was just there?
McLean.
Okay, yeah.
Capital One's headquarters, I guess it is now.
Right.
And I lived there for 18 years. I went to Chapel Hill, go Tar Heels.
What is it? GBA?
Good day to be a Tar Heel.
Right.
It's a great day to be a Tar Heel.
You notice behind you that it's always a better day to be a mountaineer.
Oh,
yeah.
It's okay. So, yeah. My uncle went to Happy,
yeah.
so.
You got a smart uncle.
I do.
So Chapel Hill and then
Chapel
what?
Hill, then I lived in Charlotte for 2 years, and then I moved to Winston-Salem in 2020.
Okay, you moved to Winston-Salem in 2020. Mm-hmm. You like it?
Of course, I love it.
What made you move here?
My husband. So we were engaged in Charlotte, and he got a job in Winston-Salem, and so he moved here, and then when we got married, I moved here as well.
Okay, all right. And we were talking about that. You remember being mic'd up for your wedding?
Yes.
All right. And you have one beautiful baby red poodle.
Yes.
All right. So go to her website. You'll find it. But I've seen it, and it's.
You won't see my dog on my website.
You might. Hey, you know what? You could write off the dog food because that's the mascot of the Go-To.
I love write-offs.
They're
my favorite.
All right, so now the next question is going to be my favorite question to ask you because you can't answer it. What's your favorite place to eat?
So I get this question a lot, and whenever people ask me, either message me, email me in person, I'm like, are you asking Christy or are you asking the Go-To? And since I'm here as the Go-To, I do not answer that question.
Where's the last... Wait. Your husband's birthday's today, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You guys going out to dinner?
We are.
Where are you going?
We are going to Three Bulls.
Three Bulls.
Yes, I've never been.
Okay.
But we love Fratelli's, so excited to check out the sister restaurant, brother restaurant.
Sammy G is a past guest on the show,
really?
So you now have share something in common, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, they are, you're getting a little bit too close to my house now at that point, okay?
Because
I live like 2 miles away from Three Bulls.
Okay.
You'll like it. My wife, when I go, ask if Mr. Goodman's working.
Okay.
So Al Goodman, he's real good. But if we go and we'll get a sitter, I have an 8-year-old, and we'll go and we'll actually play cards.
Really?
So because no one's around, we'll just sit there and we'll play Phase 10 or something like that at the dinner table.
Ooh, I love gin and gin rummy.
Oh, we need to talk. Okay, so we play Phase 10, and then the other one is Skip Bow. Have you ever played that?
I have.
Okay, yeah, we play Skip Bow and stuff. So we just kind of, something that just mindlessly takes the
But what do you
away.
get at Three Bulls?
I don't know. Let me think about it. I like the salmon. Their salmon's always good.
Okay.
They've got decent drinks. It's just, so when you come in, it used to be a sports bar. So when you come in, there's a great bar to your right, and then eating to the left. It's it's not as fancy as Fratelli's. I guarantee you, when you get there, what you want to do is you'll come up to the Bull, and then as you're leaving, based on what the weather is, because it's raining like crazy now. So we're filming this, Thursday before Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
I mean, Thursday before Christmas.
December 22nd.
Right, yeah. And then you will air on the 11th. So we'll have some time there because everybody's going to take a little bit of time off. And I appreciate you working with me and rescheduling to come in today. So you'll look to the right, and they have a courtyard out there. I highly recommend
It looks
drinks
so
with hubby
beautiful.
Out there once the weather gets good.
Yes, I'm excited to go back in the springtime because they have such a beautiful patio. But my husband doesn't want presents for his birthday or anything. All he wants every single birthday is a nice steak and a bourbon.
Yeah, he's fine. He'll be fine.
So last year we went to Ryan's,
Yeah.
and the year before we went to Fratelli's,
Yeah.
and that's all the birthdays he's had in Winston-Salem.
Check out Jeffrey Adams.
Oh, we went to Jeffrey Adams for Valentine's Day.
Yep.
He just loves his steak and bourbon.
So give your husband my cell phone number, and when you're at Fratelli's, just come on over to my house where my bourbon storage is, so we don't have to talk. Yeah.
What's your favorite bourbon?
Well, my favorite bourbon is actually a bourbon. It's Henry McKenna, bottled in bond. It was like the old Milwaukee of beers that suddenly won a taste test, and then it was selling better than Bud Light for a while. But it was a very inexpensive, and now it's like $50. So it went up really high.
I never know why I asked that question because the only bourbon I know is my husband's favorite. So when people give me a different answer, I'm like, okay, yeah, Eagle Rare.
Eagle Rare?
Why are you laughing?
Because I have a bottle of Eagle Rare Antique Collection open at my house right now.
Send me a picture.
Yeah, no,
Or it is his birthday. I mean.
We opened it up. I'm running for state realtor president, and so
awesome.
we opened it up and had several people over as we got started going. Did that.
We have a friend driving through. Isn't it in Kentucky?
Yes.
For Christmas.
They don't have any bourbon there, by the way.
They don't have any Eagle Rare there?
No. It's very. So what you want to tell your friend is they need to go on the tasting. Folks, you go on the tasting tour of the Buffalo Trace and whatever the special bourbon is that they taste. So they won't have any downstairs, but if let's say today's the day for Willet, and you can look on their website if we're tasting today this, then you're allowed to buy a bottle of that. So not Willet, but I said Willet. I'm talking about Buffalo Trace. The bottle, Blanton's. So Blanton's is one of theirs. Okay. So we tasted Blanton's that day, and then you're allowed to buy it. And then you can't buy Blanton's for another 3 to 6 months. They have you on a list and everything at their stuff. So it's not like it used to be, but it's crazy. One
time in Charlotte, we went to 7 different ABC stores, and we found it.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'll give you some... Not on.
And that was in the middle of COVID, so all the AB stores.
Not on a recorded thing so that other people see it. I'll tell you 2 or 3 places you ought to go.
Okay.
All right. So good restaurants. Now you have sponsors too. So I want to talk about the whole website and sponsors and things like that. The next thing is, so besides taking Big Red for a walk, what's your dog's name?
Rosie.
Okay,
I was like, Clifford?
Yeah, Clifford. Besides taking Rosie for a walk and hanging with hubby. Eating steaks and bourbon. What do you guys like to do around town?
We really enjoy the outdoors and walking. We love to, again, this involves Clifford, Rosie, but walking around Renolda. I love going to coffee shops and catching up with friends. There's a coffee shop that's right near my house. We live in Pofftown, and Bake Just So is there. And so I don't have any coworkers. I have 5 part-time employees, but really, we don't work in an office and everything. So I get lonely, hence why we got a dog. Staff meetings, but when I go to Bake Just So, I feel like they're my coworkers. Right. So really love doing that. Honestly, I mean, the life of an entrepreneur, I feel like I've been working nonstop for 2 years.
All right, so this, Larry, I'm ready. Okay, so the go-to. All right. Did you start this? Okay, so what the heck?
Great question.
Tell me what's going on. So if I go online, how many followers do you think you got right now?
We on social media, we have over 30,000 followers. We have 15,000 followers on Facebook. We have 2,000 on TikTok. We have, each month we reach around 800,000 people.
All right. And then do you have newsletter?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's all encompassing. Newsletter, all that kind of stuff.
All right, so we're sitting, because you just got out of college, of course. I'm going to give you grief and say that.
5 years ago.
You're killing me. All right, so what's your husband do?
He works for the government.
Okay,
the state government.
The state government. Okay, all right, so he's in a government job. So good retirement.
Yes, very stable job.
You're sitting there and you go, hey, I want to do this. How did this come about? So tell me the whole story.
Yeah, so when I lived in Charlotte, there was a similar resource, and I followed it religiously. Now, when I lived in Charlotte, I didn't go anywhere because it was so much traffic. Every place was so busy. There's no parking. But I just like to look at all the things that were going on, but I never went to any of it. But when I moved to Winston, it was 2020, so it was in the middle of COVID. So when I was in Charlotte, I moved to Winston when we got married, but I didn't have a job yet. Also hard to find a job in the middle of COVID.
Right. And
so it's really complicated. And we were supposed to get married in May. in 2020. That didn't happen because of COVID.
Right.
And so we postponed it to September. So for those 3 months,
Good fall wedding.
I lived in, it was like 100 degrees. I lived in Winston at my family friend's house until we got married. So during that time, I was trying to find a new venue to get married at that we could have more than 10 people.
You get married in Winston?
Yes.
Where'd you get married?
The ceremony was at the Windmock.
Okay.
And then the reception was it was really like a rehearsal dinner. We had a seated dinner. Everyone could give a toast. There was no dancing, anything like that. It was at Brookstown Inn.
Okay.
So during that, I was trying to find a job and trying to find a new location. So I started knowing everything about Winston. I started knowing all the businesses. I started knowing all the restaurants and event venues and places that classified as a restaurant at that time, so I could have 50% capacity at my reception. And I just fell in love with the city. And
I love to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember thinking, I was in the car with my fiance at the time, and I was like, what if I started the name of the resource in Charlotte here in Winston? And I was like, that's so funny. Like, I wasn't trying to do this. And so I started just posting on Instagram. So when people came to visit me or when COVID was gone, that we ever thought it'd be gone, that I could bring my husband to these places so I would remember it. So it was kind of like my own personal diary. And then people started messaging me and saying, this is fabulous. Like, thank you so much. And then, so my dad's an entrepreneur, and I was working at Flywheel Co-working at the time, which is a co-working place, but also an entrepreneurial hub. So I was a manager there, and I was around the entrepreneurial spirit, my dad, and I've never really known what I wanted to do my whole entire life. I went to school for psychology, and you can't really do anything with that unless you go to grad school and become a counselor or a social worker, and I didn't really want to do that. And so one day I was like, I think I can do this. I think I can create what was in Charlotte in Winston-Salem. And at that time, there was, whether it was because they were dormant because of COVID, there was no resource that I was aware of at that time. So I created it. And in January 2021 is when it officially became like a business. It wasn't just, I'm doing this for fun. I started coming up with revenue models, coming up with mission, vision, statement, all that stuff. And then in April of 2021, I was able to leave Flywheel, and I got a part-time job at a marketing company that I was able to have flexible hours with, so I could put more time into this. And then so I had that part-time job, started working more hours for my job, my business, and then January of 2022 is when I went full-time with the Go-To.
So you said when you graduate from college, I can do math. So you're several years under 30. You've got your own business. That kicks butt. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love that you love Winston-Salem. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
When we take the break and we come back, I want to really dial this down, because what you're telling me is you started in basically less than a year ago, or about a year ago, right? When did you
about
officially?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and you're at 30,000. I mean, that's how. And I mean, there are like 3 other sites that I know of, and we've had all 3 of them on. And I mean, I've known Jeff Smith since Smitty's Note started.
I love that story so much.
Yeah, he's awesome. And so we've had, it's just crazy. And there's just so many things that you've said, and this happens a lot. When we go to break, I'll tell you some things. I'm like, well, this and this and this. But we'll be right back. And when we come back, I want to really kind of dial this down, because your spirit may lift someone else up, but also we want people to find out about you guys and how they can have fun with their family and friends.
Yeah,
all right?
definitely.
We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. Christy is here with us from The Go-To. We're going to talk about why The Go-To Winston-Salem's
Expanding.
Expanding.
It's not disappearing.
Yeah, but is it still The Go-To Winston, or the...
Yes.
Yeah, notice I stopped in the middle, because I know it's not disappearing. So what's going on?
The Go-To.
The Go-To, right?
And then we have 2 locations, the Go-To Winston-Salem and the Go-To Greensboro. But
so
the thing that encompasses it all is the Go-To.
So if I go online and I go to the Insta, and I type in the go-to, I'm going to get both Winston and Greensboro off that?
Yes.
That's
So the go-to Winston-Salem
That's kinda
and the
smart
go-to
there.
Greensboro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. You're sitting there. You come up with this idea. You start it. Seed money, whatever. We're going along. You're working,
money.
but then you're right.
Started with no money.
Yeah, you're working. Yeah, seed money is whatever was in the wallet, right? You're working, and all of a sudden you're like, I can do this full time.
Mm-hmm.
How? So, and I told you I'd tell the story. So we're at dinner the other night.
Where? You asked me that.
I know, you can ask me that. It's the place. It's Misu.
Mizu?
Mizu,
The sushi?
yeah. That's where I broke my ankle because that used to be a K&S newsstand. So so I came and broke my ankle when we were moving. Yeah, so we're sitting there, and my wife goes, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, "What?" She goes, "I know her. I know that person." I'm like, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah, that's so and so, and that's her husband, and she's out of town right now on a girls trip. She's at the beach, and like her husband and she goes, I feel dirty. I know too much about them, and it's someone she follows on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So last night I was sitting there and I'm messing on my computer, and I'm like, oh, Catherine asked me about this, so I sent this to her, and it was like our itinerary for DC because I went in and I had all of these different things that we did and how to contact and do all this kind of stuff, and I want to share that with this Instagram lady that I've follow because she asked about it from you and that type. So there's a lot of, it's kind of crazy, but you're not really an influence per se because you don't talk about you.
Mm-mm.
You are simply a source for how to be cool and do everything right in Winston-Salem and occasionally in Greensboro. We'll give them a little bit of dap, I guess. But how to be, you know what to do.
Yeah, so in the beginning, God created the heaven. No, I'm kidding. Whenever
and
I
the
say...
earth was out void. Darkness was gone.
In the beginning, when I was first dabbling in this, trying to figure out what I was going to do, it was about me. It was, I went here, I ordered this. And then when I sat down and was like, this can be a business, this can be my full-time job, is when I made the decision to go to third person.
Okay.
Because I do not want people to follow me. Most of the time, I'm on my couch watching TV.
Right.
I am not going to all these places. I mean, I did in the beginning, but I do not want people to order something because Christy ate this and enjoyed it. How we see ourselves is a digital media guide to the city. So we talk about, more than food and drink. We talk about commercial real estate. We talk about new businesses that are coming
Parade
to
of Homes.
Winston-Salem. We talk about Parade of Homes.
Don't go all the way out to the right. Good Parade of Homes houses.
That's not where they sent me.
Excuse me. Sorry about that.
We talk about, all that is going on in the city. I mean, we obviously aren't the Triad Business Journal.
Right.
And we're not trying to be. But honestly, people my age, they don't read the newspaper. So where do they get this information from?
I'm watching more YouTube shorts than anything right now.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
So they get their information from podcasts. They get their information from social media, from websites. And so the go-to is delivering the news, the latest events, all that kind of stuff to the city without a name attached to it, without Christy.
Right, and I will tell you that what's been interesting for me is I do this because I love my city, and so I want to basically go out there and meet people like you because I would have maybe never crossed paths with you
Unless I went to your house for the Home of Tours.
Right, correct, yeah. Which you didn't, and I wasn't there. But so it's one of those things of, you do it because you love it, and
most of the time. Now,
all right. So you're on Facebook, you're on the Insta, you're on the TokTik, right? And then where else?
We have a newsletter.
We
have a website.
That's the www there too, yeah.
And we are on WXII once a month.
Okay.
And I think that's enough.
So Christy gets paid.
The go-to gets paid.
Yeah, Christy gets paid from the go-to, but the go-to has partnerships with people. In that, you're providing people information. Now, some people, this is like the hardest question I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
All right, so this, I mean, you know what it's going to be. So some people would say, come on, this is an easy one. Some people will say, oh, well, if someone's sponsoring you, do you give them an unbiased review? I know how I feel about it, and I think you probably feel the same way, and that is you're not going to take money from people you don't believe in.
Correct.
Yeah. I do some woodworking. I built the desk there that you see.
Oh.
Thank you.
Nice standing
thank you.
desk.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it's adjustable. It's a sit too. But it's a slab. And so I do some of that, and I've got some followers, not many, but I follow a lot of other people, and they'll push a product or something like that. And you're supposed to say, oh, this is sponsored or whatever. But again, you don't take money from people you don't believe in, because and you're not taking money. It's a coexisting thing. So how was that the first time?
Yeah, definitely.
So like, who was your first sponsor?
Cycle Bar, Winston-Salem.
Cycle Bar, Winston-Salem, downtown, right? And that's on that corner of Marshall and 4th
and whatever.
Cherry, 4th and Cherry?
Whatever.
That's where I met my wife in that building. How you like that?
Really?
Yeah, they moved the building out, but I mean, that's where the Cycle Bar is, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We've been doing this off. I'm like, oh, I spent the night there when you were there. So,
I'm just following you.
yeah, right. But so Cycle Bar was, okay? And have you had sponsorships? You're like, when did you, I like this kind of stuff too. When did you realize, probably the same thing I'm going to say, holy crap, this is like, can be my career?
Yeah. That's the cool thing is that I quit my full-time job and did part-time without having any money with.
Right.
And I feel like that's, all entrepreneurs do.
Right.
That's the risk and everything. And I fully believe in this because I've seen it, what the Go-To is doing, what other businesses in Winston-Salem who do this, it's not a new idea.
Right.
There are hundreds of these in multiple different cities across the country. What you just have to do is figure out your revenue model,
right,
what you want to talk about, what you don't want to talk about, and, your voice. So it's not like I came up with this idea. I came up with how it's going to work for the city. And so I fully believed in it. It didn't seem risky to me because I was like, I know myself. I know I am a hard worker, and I feel like all of these gifts that I need are my gifts, and there was nowhere else for them to go because I've been trying to figure out that my whole life.
Right.
So when we first got Cycle Bar, I was like,
I don't have to eat ramen this week.
If Dixon is listening to this, he's going to laugh. I took a picture with the check.
Yeah.
And then, on January 1st, 2021, I took a picture with my first paycheck to myself.
Right.
And those are the cool things. I've never doubted the business. And it's had to change a few times just because technology is changing and businesses are changing and their needs are. But back to the sponsor thing, we have turned down people. I mean, in the beginning, it was really hard because I was like, money.
I don't have to eat ramen.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness, money. But I think, for anyone who's listening who has an idea or is working on their idea right now, is you write down your mission, you write down what your business stands for and what you want it to be, and you have a tunnel vision on that. And yes, take ideas and grow it and expand it. But if you're chasing money, then you're not going to know what your business is. Then you're just going to be, oh, they just accept money from anyone, and no one knows what their brand is.
Right.
No one knows what they are. But, we say no to things because we set firm lines in the beginning of what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm. So I want, I've never been to any of your I'm lying to you now. I've never been to any of your websites or anything like that. So the one that is intriguing to me is TikTok, right? Mostly more humor side of things. I mean, Justin Danger. That guy is hilarious. The one that's like, look, they'll do something that goes, what the heck is that? His wife will walk in and go, what are you looking at? Nothing, honey. But so it's like Justin Danger Nunley, I think is his name. And then we like, I've got the 8-year-old daughter, and so we like Mark Rober, we like Mr. Beast and things like that. So I mean, where does TikTok come into your model? Because that's interesting to me.
Yeah, so it started relatively recently. It started as I really liked their platform better in terms of editing. Mm-hmm. So I started just editing my videos on it and then republishing them to Instagram.
Okay.
So I started off because I just liked it, and because everywhere you look, any marketing thing, any digital advertising thing, they're like, your business use TikTok. It's the future of advertising, which is true. TikTok just surpassed, I think, YouTube this year.
So is that why YouTube Shorts is so big right now? Because what they're trying to do is
everyone's trying to compete with TikTok.
TikTok, okay. So TikTok, all right.
Yeah.
And then, all right, so that's one. Instagram, my wife loves it. Mm-hmm. You can either like it, you can not like it, you can comment, but it's not political and things like that. It's just basically, hey, I went on a walk. Like my wife's latest post was about our trip to D.C., and she's like, hey, we reached out to the Senator Burr's office. He's retiring, and they, had someone give us a tour, and we got gallery passes. And she's like, you can call your House of Representatives person and do this or whatever. And so that was her thing. I did a Instagram post about the hotel we stayed at, and they picked it up, and the hotel chain picked it up. So that was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I'm learning. But what? Do you have a formula in your mind that got you from 0 to X in a certain period of time? I mean, I told you I was going to harass you about some of this stuff because I know there's a lot of people that I'm friends with that watch this that want to have a better online presence but don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. And you've done it.
So Instagram is my worst enemy.
Okay.
I hate it.
You do Reels?
Yes. So
I hate Reels. I just want to do a post. I want to be there forever.
I know. So Reels are there forever.
Okay.
The problem with Instagram is that you can come up with a strategy and it'll work for a month, and then Instagram will change its algorithm, and then that will no longer work for you. So Instagram is constantly changing it, and so you have to be constantly changing it. But the thing that has stayed true throughout time is you have to be consistent. And so no matter what the algorithm is, no matter what new feature they have, consistency is what is going to get you
And what is
growth.
consistency defined
Consistency is you can't post once a week and expect to grow.
So how often do I post?
I mean, it really depends.
So I'm a realtor,
business.
I'm a woodworker, Camel City Chat. I usually post about once a week on Camel City Chat. So now this week, I'm going to post. Today I went by and saw someone, and as soon as I say the name, we're going to start talking about them. So I'm going to not say that. So I went and saw them today because that, and then we do a top 10 videos of the year, and we take back and do that. And it starts, so I'll have 2 posts today, and then we'll do 1 post a day on Instagram or whatever.
Okay.
But so is it, the other thing is there's programs out there for like realtors, like Agent Crate, and it'll tell you, here's a poll to ask, and here's this, and here's that, and here's that. I mean, what do you recommend?
If we had 2 hours where I could really get into the nitty gritty of your business.
I don't have anything to do, so we can record.
I have the big red dog.
Oh, the big red dog. Yeah. So, but I mean, is there is
there a formula? No.
Yeah. Did you watch YouTube videos to get where you are? I mean,
No.
what did you do?
You just trial and error. You see what works. You look at the analytics. Okay, that worked. I had bigger font here. I used emojis here. It was this time of day. It was 3 pictures. It was a 5-second video. It was a 15-second video. It was on a Sunday. It was on a Tuesday. There was a holiday 2 weeks in the future. It's a beast.
Here's my problem. I do an hour show. All right, so when we're done, I'll take this, take it over to Stabler. He edits it down. We did our 4 15-minute segments, puts the boom, ba-dum, and all that stuff, right? I need to get him to do better on hashtags. That's something that I really want to get better at. But
it's not really going to change it.
It's not going to change anything. Mm-hmm. But I've got
like a little bit, but
I've got like 250 followers. Mm-hmm. I've got like 200 subscribers on YouTube. So I know one of the things is to cut down my time. But I talk too much. And the other thing is you've got a wealth of knowledge here. I can't, I mean, I'm going to do a 3-minute video with you? It's just not going to work.
So what, you know...
Do I release them as 4 individual episodes?
No, so you release the whole episode, and then you have your guy edit it. Think about it this way.
So I hate Instagram from Christy. That's the one thing that I put out there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Instagram's dead,
If Instagram hears me, then they're going to shadow ban me. Then no one's going to see my stuff. No, but I was telling you, you know, I remember the last time I put a mic on like this was when I was mic'd up for my wedding ceremony. So think of this show as a wedding. You know, you have the getting ready part, you have the first look, you have the pictures, you have the ceremony, you have the post pictures, then you have the party, all that kind of stuff. Then you have, you know, the exit. A popular thing to do nowadays is a highlight video of the whole entire wedding. So if you have a videographer for your wedding, the videographer will give you the whole film from the whole day.
Right.
But then they'll give you a short mini clip that is a highlight of the day.
Right.
So you publish this, the full thing, and then you turn each segment into 15-second reels where we're talking about something, you cut it up, you have voiceover over, say, when we're talking about 3 bowls, you know, you have a video of 3 bowls while we're talking about it, all that stuff.
So B-roll and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the voiceover. So the thing is that Instagram, it takes ton of work.
All right,
and
hold
consistency.
that, because I want to come back to this because I'm going to ask you a question and I want to take a break.
Okay.
So I want to come back and I want to talk to you about how you put it together in your part-time team or your staff, and then I want to really kind of dial down into what the goal is of the go-to and some of the mission statement stuff, and then maybe some tips of some things that you think we're going to do. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. I'm John McPherson. I'm here with Christy Billis, and she is with The Go-To, and we've been talking about all kinds of stuff. I need to try and come up with a 30-second little clip that I can put out there, or 15-second. But you were starting to talk about Instagram, and you know, you didn't like the editing platform. And there's a guy that I follow, Bourbon Moth, and he like shoots all of his videos on his phone and edits them on some like video thing on his phone. But what's crazy is he's like, I'm just doing YouTube and YouTube Shorts. I mean, that's the only true. They don't change the algorithms on you and stuff like that. And so before we go further, what's the algorithms that are out there? And then I want you to kind of talk about how you get content in your team and all that stuff together.
If we knew the algorithm.
But what is the algorithm? What I'm saying is...
The algorithm is like one day Instagram will push... They say to use trending songs, and so you use a trending song and then the reel flops, and then you use an original audio and it's not trending and the reel does well. Or you post at 9 a.m. when it says that that's not a good time and it does really, really well, but you post the time that they say you should post. It just is all, you're competing.
And where are you finding this information at?
Analytics and
that's you just log into analytics and it tells you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, Instagram, if they come out with a new algorithm, like they're saying so one of the biggest changes with the algorithm was when they said we are going to favor videos over photos.
Okay.
And that was a big switch. You could drastically see that everyone's photos decreased in engagement and the reels took off. And now they're saying they are equaling them out. So
that's what it is. My best Instagram on my... So I know what you're going to tell me about this. I have a personal page. I have a realtor page, Camel City Chat, McPherson Woodworkers. I should just probably bundle it all together is what you're going to end up telling me.
Have you had Algernon Cash on here?
Yes.
I told him the same thing.
Okay, all right. So, so here's, but I don't know if we can do that. But so here's where we go. My best reel on my personal page is my daughter, where I did and it repeated or something like that. And it's her, or it's actually just a short video, and it's her playing with bubbles in the front yard. 2,500 views. I do the Intercontinental in Washington, D.C. and show 3 suite views with like 9 pictures to What a Wonderful World. 300 people look at it.
So thinking about this, though, Instagram is trying, Meta, the metaverse, is trying to understand and give the people what they want.
Right.
think of you in your everyday. How hard is it to understand what your wife wants or what your daughter wants? Like, we are trying to read people's minds.
My daughter wants Legos.
But
and my wife, I never will know what she wants.
So Instagram is trying to do that. And we're trying to feed Instagram what Instagram thinks people want.
Right.
So that is why I have the newsletter and the website. Because on Wednesday night at 9 p.m., people will get an email in their inbox.
Right.
I don't have to fight an algorithm. I don't have to fight whether or not there's a holiday or whether or not it's raining or a beautiful day so people aren't on their phones. The email goes to their inbox.
And then if they follow you the other places, then that's it. Now, what are you sending out your email with? Like a constant contact or something like that?
Yes, we use MailChimp.
MailChimp. I mean, I can't believe this. Like 30,000 people, that's like $300 or $400 a month to have a MailChimp account.
There's different levels.
Different levels. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But, so again, at the beginning of the business,
Right.
if I was seen just on like Instagram and social media, in my mind, that would be seen as an influencer.
Right.
But a newsletter, and in the future, we hope to have multiple different newsletters, and the goal is to do one every day in the future. But that's what all these other businesses in all these other cities are doing. It's the news delivered to you every morning.
So you can you tag on to like News and Observer or the Journal or something and tag their stories on to your stuff and do that for headlines?
So
no?
We do not do that because you have to have a subscription to read the Business Journal and the Winston-Salem Journal. So our newsletter is free. So
right. No, I'm talking about the stories that you eventually want to do. Where will you get your feeds from for the...
Like the information?
Yeah.
So sometimes we hear about it first, and then if it's from the Journal, then we contact the business that was mentioned in it. Okay.
All right. So we talked a little bit about TikTok. We talked about Instagram. Facebook is pretty much the metaverse, and you're going to put a post up there, people like it, and who knows? I mean, like my wife doesn't show up in my feed some days. I mean, who knows, right? Yeah.
But if you're listening and you're interested in all this stuff, don't forget about Facebook. Last month, we reached 700,000 people on Facebook and 300 on Instagram.
Facebook is the bomb because that's what everyone that I know does. And the ads are inexpensive. So if I get a home and I want to advertise it, I can do it. I mean, I get like 2,000 or 3,000 impressions for $20 or $30. So yes, but now website. What do we see when we go to our website? And we'll have Stabler put up your information and all that kind of stuff. So what do we see on the website?
On the website, it's just more information. When people ask us what your favorite restaurant is, or they're like, hey, where should I go tonight? I send them our restaurant page, which has information about where to get barbecue in Winston-Salem, where to get burgers, where to get pizza, where can I take my dog on a walk, what restaurants have outdoor patios, where can I find live music this weekend, what are the events this weekend.
And where are you getting the events from?
Myself, research.
So you're researching them. So, because there used to be like 336 events. So now we're getting in, so you have and then who else works with you?
I have 5 part-time employees.
And what do they all do?
They gather content for me.
Okay.
So they go to restaurants, they go to events, they take videos, they take photos, they gather information for me. They're kind of like reporters.
So they're your legs. Okay.
Yeah.
So you sit in the glass castle, otherwise known as
Poptown.
You sit in Poptown on the couch with the computer
with
and the dog, and Big Red, and occasionally wave at your husband, and you basically funnel this all down into digestible things. So we, single parents, things to do is, or I'm a girl dad, so girl dad, you might have a page on that. Best place to get a steak in town, et cetera, stuff like that. And then, but you're getting all of that information from various websites, people sharing it with you, et cetera, and things like that.
And mostly through research.
Okay. Like, the one page that I wanted to always do is where the wine specials are in town.
I have a page. So on our events tab, we have what restaurants, bars have drink specials and ongoing events every day.
Right.
So there's events that happen every Monday. There's these places that have half off wine, all that stuff. It's on our website.
So like half off wine, here's all the places on Mondays, here's all the places on Tuesdays, here's all the places. Did you ever think that Lowe's would be like the place to go to
Lowe's
meet
place is incredible.
Yeah, Lowe's Wine Bar is like, my wife said, I went to Lowe's in Louisville, which, of course, now that you've told me kind of where you live, I'm assuming that you're talking about Bake Just So at the Harris Teeter Shopping Center.
Yes.
Yes. So we were at the other end. Now we're further away from you because, we couldn't get too close. But so basically, that Lowe's in Louisville, Catherine ran by there to get something one time. And, like, she was getting something out of the car, so she keeps her, gets her purse out or whatever. She's getting out and turns. And she sees this lady just pulling her dress down, and her and her friends, and they're in like stiletto high heels, full makeup.
In Louisville.
In Louisville, not Pfafftown, going into the Lowe's to meet
Have
someone.
a drink.
Yes. And I've got friends in Greensboro, the Harris Teeter that's over near the Apple store. They go there, and they've got their own mug and stuff. I mean, it's like, it's crazy. It's a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, and so...
You have all the food you could need there, too. You don't have to ask, do you serve food?
I've been jonesing for some barbecue Pringles. I'll be right back. So, all right, we've got all this information. Mm-hmm. We now have people that are working with you. Mm-hmm. This is fun. So you know what you ought to do is screw it up and expand it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say High Point's coming at some point sometime soon. But you can't, don't say that. Oh, look, I got that. Yeah, so breaking news. It's going to be go-to triad at some point. But you know what? You need to do Forsyth County. Vegas has cool stuff,
So Kernersville is included in Winston-Salem. The go-to Winston-Salem includes everything that touches Winston-Salem.
Okay.
So I don't even know if Advance touches it, but Advance, Moxville, Clemens, Louisville, Poptown,
So
South
Advance,
Winston, Kernersville, all that stuff.
Advance and Moxville touch it, but you just couldn't drive out to take a picture of my house, is what you're saying. Okay, so back to the show. So basically,
We love Kernersville. We have a whole guide on what to do, where to eat.
have you been to the Senior Gardens with Christmas lights?
No, but one of my employees
Take
has.
your hubby there. That's a good one. Tanglewood's always great. Greensboro Science Center.
Yes.
There's just some cool things. Have you been? Okay, so this is one that I'm going to give you as an assignment to do on your own.
Okay.
So you've got to get up off
Christy.
the couch.
Okay.
This is a Christy.
I also don't sit on the couch all the time.
I know. Yeah, just like you see always.
I
We're
start
always
at the kitchen
working.
table and I end on the couch in the afternoon.
I was up till 12:30 working on a spreadsheet last night about something. It's just like
On the couch.
no, I was in bed at that
Oh,
point.
okay.
But it's you're always worried. If it's not one thing, it's something else. But I want you to go to February 1st. It's a phenomenal museum.
Oh.
It is. They have the original Woolworths sit-in.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but go do that. Since now you're in.
I've done
Greensboro.
that with my mom. My mom's
Right.
from Greensboro.
But yeah, definitely do that. That's a cool one to do,
that's
and they need all the DAP they can get. Now, I will tell you, this is talking TikTok. So I started watching DC stuff, and that's what I'll do is like when we're going somewhere, I'll start to look at stuff. And so it's like, hey, if I was visiting Winston-Salem, then I'm going to find the go-to.
Exactly.
And so there's a guy, DC Trip Hacks, and he gives private tours too. But I was doing that, and he goes, I had this lady on, he interviewed her. This lady went to every museum in the DMV.
In like a certain time period? Because I think my
80 of
dad
them.
has done that.
80 of them. So I have the spreadsheet. Before you leave, I'm going to email you the spreadsheet so you can see it. And then you can share it with your dad. But so then she did a TikTok on each of them. Now, after about the third one, I didn't need to hear, hi, my name's John, and I made it in 2022 that I want to do a TikTok of every museum. It could have just been, hey, I'm doing, this is museum number 4.
We're at this Smithsonian. Now we're at this Smithsonian.
Yeah, right. But then it was crazy because she went to the Lincoln Memorial and she said, I put it on there because everyone says it's a museum. And then she's like, I had to go back to the Lincoln Memorial because there's a museum underneath it where the bathrooms are that I didn't even know was there.
Yes.
It's paid for by kids that wanted to have, they paid for it with pennies They put a museum underneath it and stuff like that. So, but
Took my prom pictures at the Lincoln Memorial.
I've been there more recent than you. But no, so it was just so cool. We were in the top of the Washington Monument, and we saw a helicopter go by, and I'm like, is that? And the guy goes,
Were
no,
there
that's...
3?
No, that was, see, that's the park. Well, then we come downstairs, and I'm like, now there are 3. My cousin flew Marine One. My cousin's husband did. And, I mean, but just does all those little cool things. The Willard has, where we stayed, has...
Will you stay at the Willard?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Dream of mine to stay there. Lou Baldwin, you just got your shout out. Lou, who was my first guest, showed me that when we were in D.C. And it's just phenomenal. But so we stay there, and every night they had singers come in. The whole... It's like crazy.
And you were there how recently?
I came home on Tuesday of this week.
So it was decorated for Christmas. I mean,
I've got
beautiful.
pictures if you want to see them when
Yeah.
this is over with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got my daughter in front of the tree, and I've
We
had
went
more hot
there-
chocolate in the last week than I've ever drank in my whole life.
Did they have carols one night?
Yes,
They had
yes.
the carols and the hot chocolate thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to do that.
And made some real good connections there too. So when we go back, it's like, it's just such a cool place, and it's Treasury. So it's White House, then there's a building, the Department of Treasury, and then there's Hotel Washington and the Willard right there. So I mean, we were.
You're basically in the White House.
Yeah. They asked us to come over, but we were doing
You
something
said
else.
no.
Yeah. But tried out some real cool restaurants and stuff. And so, what do you see happening with you guys? Because this is, adding Greensboro is huge. I wish there were like some museums with regards to Cone Mills and stuff like that. But you've got VF over there. You've got, Boom. You've got, all these different things and integrating them into your stuff. So what are any plans that we're not allowed to know that we promise we won't tell anyone?
So right now we're focusing on Greensboro. Not like we're not focusing on Winston, but we're not looking at...
Greensboro's a new baby in the house. You
Yeah.
still didn't forget about the other one.
No.
Right.
And so Greensboro does encompass High Point right now. We
Okay.
do hope to have a separate one for High Point, but when researching whether or not we wanted to do 2 separate ones or one, we did not find enough events that were going on in High Point to have it separate one right now. There are events, but the newsletter would be very bare, and also we looked at it for advertising purposes, and businesses that do business in High Point, they don't want to just reach High Point, they want to reach Greensboro too. So that's one of the reasons why we expanded, is that many of our current sponsors and sponsors that we were pitching to were like, we love this, but have you ever thought about doing the whole triad? Because when you're doing business in Winston, you're doing business in the triad.
Right.
But we decided to keep it separate because there's this weird, you've lived
so you ready? They took our airport, is what people are going to tell you.
and the Beltway.
And the Beltway. So, I'm a fan of Greensboro. Please do not think this. So it started out with Friends of Forsyth. Our Beltway is around Greensboro and it's around Charlotte because Friends of Forsyth fought it. Friends of Forsyth are out where you live. Okay, that's where they fought it, and it's coming. I didn't think it'd be in my lifetime, but heck, they're building some of it now. So
I know.
so
I
it's gonna be
cannot
crazy.
take it.
Yeah. So that's one. And then the airport was in Greensboro. It was in Winston, Smith Reynolds Airport, and then all of a sudden it's in Greensboro. The mayors get along. But it's kind of weird. It's like High Point is the brother or sister that both the oldest and the youngest get along with. But the oldest and the
they're the
youngest don't
favorite
get
cousin.
Yeah. But the oldest and youngest don't get along. I mean, it is a weird dynamic.
And I don't know the political stuff behind it. I just know that sometimes when I have talked about Greensboro things, I get negative comments about it. And also, we try to hyper focus on each city and what makes it unique. And if we did have one that talked about everything, we would miss small businesses, we would miss this small event because there'd be so much big stuff happening that we would need to cover. So with 2 separate ones, we give the sponsors the opportunity to sponsor both.
Right.
But we are hyper-focused on the city and take the city for each personality and for the events that they have there. Because if it was one newsletter, I wouldn't be able to talk about this wine tasting at this small business in Greensboro because there's so much to talk about for all of them.
Well, and not only that, I mean, the coolest thing is the universities.
Yes.
I mean, High Point. So the two things in High Point that there's three things. There's going to be a furniture market, March and October. The Rockers are the big push, now, and then you've got Nido and High Point University. So,
and they have the food hall.
Right. Yeah. So all those things happening. I mean, you're going to get some stuff from him. But now then, Tanger Center in Greensboro. Holy cow!
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. And see, we had that in Winston. But they haven't used it as much because it's gone more back to the schools. So everyone used to come to the Stevens Center. Neil Simon, the playwright, would test his plays out in downtown Winston-Salem when I was growing up before we put them on Broadway. And so, I mean, there's all these cool things. You get a calendar from the School of the Arts and you can pick what you're doing. So having it all together in the sense of, at some point you're going to have go-to triad, and then out of that's going to come, I can go to the Winston-Salem page, I can go to this or whatever, but if we can get it all to go together so I can say, hey, it's Monday night, am I driving to High Point, am I driving to Kernersville, am I driving to Winston, would be great.
Yes. And that's our goal. So each website will link to each other. And so, like, for example, there will be an article about like best sushi in Greensboro, and it'll like be a link. Looking for best sushi in Winston-Salem, click here, and then it takes you to the Winston. So it's all going to be looped together, but still individualized. Yeah,
and so there's a big pride with each city. Winston-Salem, we've got Haynes and Reynolds was big. Then they've got Cone and Lowellard in Greensboro was tobacco as well. And then High Point with furniture and stuff. So but they've had to realize much like your flywheel experience, they've had to realize they've got to work together. You've got to come to a central point. You can be an entrepreneur out here, but it's weird. Like every coffee shop, and I've got some other ones, but Bake Just So's great. But I've got some other ones that I'm going to say, hey, check this one out. It's not that far away from your house. Or check this place out.
I've been to all of them.
Okay. But I have friends that that's where they work.
Yeah.
And the dirty word, one of my buddies is a manager of the Starbucks. And I mean, everyone in town knows this guy, and he's going to be on at some point. But it's just crazy how we need that all together. And I think that more from when I was growing up, there was more of an animosity. It's kind of fading. But you are correct. There are I don't know what the issues are, but it just seems like it. I mean, when I grew up, I would go to Greensboro to go dancing, the clubs, because we really didn't have that. But Winston-Salem has always been said that, it's a great place to raise a family. But, I mean, so's Greensboro. So's High Point. Yeah, I mean,
and in Kernersville, you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's the heart of the triad. There you go, Brooke Cashin. But it is an interesting thing that you brought up, and I'm sorry I jumped all over it, but it's something that just amazes me. I mean, now they're saying that if we're 30 minutes out of Greensboro down south and there's a business going in, that's in the triads. I mean, everyone's trying to claim a victory on everything.
Yeah, but we just thought people like the individualized and they like details about the city. And we can deliver that through 3 different places.
So what do you have, like 16-year-old kids that are driving around and shooting videos? And I mean,
No, they're all in their 20s or 30s.
Right, and they just like to do it. Do they have their own pages too? And then
we have found either through personal friendships or through the business, people that just like to explore, and now they get paid to do it.
Okay.
So they're going to go anyways.
Right.
So I just pay them now.
And so do you have a page on where the best Pokemons are? Because, my kids...
Maybe not.
Okay, see, there you go.
So sorry.
No, but it is interesting. All right, so we're going to come back. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to finish up the show and finish up about you and what your goals are and that type of thing. And plug anything else that you want to put in there, all right?
Great.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. So I am picking the brain of Christy with the go-to. And we've heard exactly how to be number one on all 5 social platforms, how to get your business listed. So the go-to. So I just go on the Insta and I type in the go-to.
Well, you type in the go-to Winston-Salem or
the go-to Greensboro. Okay. So what's the website? The go-to
Winstonsalem.com or the go-to Greensboro.
Okay, so it's not the go-to.com. It's just
no.
All right. So you pick your city.
Taken.
Do we need to bust some caps or
No,
something
no,
to get
we're
it?
good.
Kneecaps? Okay. All right. So we go to the go-to Winston-Salem, and and sign up for the newsletter, right? So then I'm going to get a newsletter next Wednesday after Christmas, and it's going to say best places to avoid the line to return all the gifts you didn't want. No. So do you do stuff with charities too and things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
We absolutely do. We feature their events. We feature, the hard thing is that every business has an event going on at all times.
Like for instance... Fleet Feet.
Oh, yes. I was like,
right? So
what?
You're like,
I was like, a million businesses going through my head.
So we were talking about, earlier today, I was picking up my wife's, Christmas shoes, and I'm talking to them, and so I'm interviewing
Were you
Emily.
playing the song Christmas Shoes while picking out the Christmas shoes?
No.
Okay.
Should I do that? But I took a picture with them, and we're going to put it up there. So the Clemens store's open now.
Yes.
So you'll air after they do because we're going to go out there. But so they're having an event on the 7th. And it was like, it was now because it happened. But they had the ribbon cutting with the mayor. They had a little run afterwards and all that stuff to get people out there. So that would be something that you would maybe be involved in. Okay. And how do people get in touch with you and say, oh my God, this is because everyone has the greatest event that
in
you
the
have
world.
to be at,
Yes.
like that house in Advance. How do I let you know that this is going on?
Yeah, the best way is there's a submission form on our website to submit an event. You can submit an event that way, and event submission does not guarantee your spot in the newsletter because we try to keep it. We know our audience the best, so we know what they want. We do talk about kid-friendly stuff, but there's Triad Moms on Main who does that wonderfully, and I don't have a kid. So I'm not going to try to know everything about that.
So you're going to tell me every dog park that's out there, right?
Well, I've only had the dog for 3 weeks, but we do have an article
Best vet
on all the dog parks and the best dog walking trails that someone contributed to our site.
Okay.
So we feel like we do have kid-friendly stuff included in the newsletter and on our website, but sometimes people ask us a very specific question, like, what's the best daycare? And I emailed Triad Moms on Main, and I said, hey, here you go.
So as a realtor, someone was always like, what's the best schools and all that kind of stuff. And so we are learned, and this is, you borrow whatever you want. Someone taught us. We're the source of the source, but not the source. So we send them to, go look there. Well, then I got a kid. Then it's different. It's like, oh, well, schools. So,
now I have an opinion.
Right, yeah. So that may change if you guys decide to have children. Then you're going to, the whole website will change.
I feel like the audience will know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because but then again, that's why I have employees.
Right.
So
right.
Even when I am pregnant or something, we will still talk about bars.
Right.
Because my employees can go,
right. Yeah. And once you have a kid, you'll be going to bars more. But so it is interesting that, you mentioned that because like one of the things I did, and I'd never done this before, is I had Santa Claus. So he was here yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was here. And the ladies at Triad
On
Mom.
the show?
No, I did have him too for a minute, but that was my preview for what I was talking to you about that we're going to drop today. But they were kind enough to put it on their website. So next year I definitely would probably spread it out around a little bit more. I had about 60 people come. It was nice. Most of them were my clients.
That's awesome.
And so, just it's doing those things to get back into interacting with people because what I want to happen is when someone thinks real estate, they're going to call me.
Exactly.
And that's why I do this too. It's when someone wants to know what's going on in Winston, they reach out to me or they see you and then immediately they know to go to your website. Yeah.
Definitely.
The 3 people that don't know about it that might know me. So what is next for you? Obviously, your husband has the government job, so we're just waiting for his 30 years in to.
So we're not moving.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So but
What's next?
Is this your long-term plan of continuing to grow this out? Could we be statewide? Have you started to go ahead and buy those websites so people can touch them?
So we would like to stay in the Triad, mainly because there's already so many of the go-tos in Raleigh, Durham, in Charlotte, in Wilmington. And so that's why we feel drawn to the Triad. Right. 1, because we live here, and 2, because it's just starting to do this. There's competition, and fellow people in the business, but I mean, in Charlotte, there's like 1,000. So the goal right now is to grow this, continue to grow it, continue to hire more people, obviously get more partnerships and sponsors and everything. So we have two different ways that we make money. One is long-term partnerships, and that's with long-term sponsors. They get exclusive things. They get a ton of, it's like long-term exposure to increase their brand awareness. Then we have one-time ads, which is if, a small business.
I'm having Santa come.
You're having Santa come. You can, pay to have that event posted somewhere. You can pay for a social media story. You can pay for an event feature in the newsletter, all that kind of stuff. So that's like one time. I need a one punch, and then the long term is for large businesses that want that continuous engagement. So our goal is we didn't want to live off of those one timers because
that's the gravy.
Yeah, that's the extra, and we don't want to depend on small businesses to keep our small business alive.
Right.
And so not like we're like taking advantage of these large businesses and all their money, but those are the ones that are on billboards that want that exposure. So our goal is to keep getting more partnerships, long-term partnerships. Our goal is to, continue to grow Greensboro and everything. And, speaking of kids, my husband and I would love to have a family. I mean, we have a family with our dog, but no, I'm kidding.
With Rosie.
But right now I'm not in a position I can't have a baby right now and do this job. I work about 70 hours a week. And so the goal is to position the business so that we can have a family.
Right. You need to basically bring in someone that's going to take some of that off. Mm-hmm. Right.
Which means making more money to hire someone full time.
Correct. Because you don't want to cut your salary. You want to have enough to, Now, all right, so I'm going to ask you a question that you're going to be like, wait a minute. But it's this one's important to me. You fill a demographic that the leaders of our community say don't want to live in Winston-Salem or they're moving away. Mm-hmm. What do you love so much about our town? And I know I asked that earlier, but now that we've talked more, I mean, I'm very impressed. I think you're a wonderful lady. I feel very fortunate to have this time to talk to you and learn more about you and the go-to. But I want someone to, maybe this is that clip that I put on there. Why does Christy love Winston-Salem?
Yeah. My husband and I love Winston-Salem because, all the obvious things. It's affordable, there's not that much traffic. And then people who've lived there their whole lives are like, there's so much traffic. Okay.
They don't know
Move
traffic.
to DC. Yeah. There's not that much traffic. People are supportive of each other. They know each other. You can go somewhere and meet someone new, but also see someone that it's like that perfect size college.
Right.
And it's so exciting to watch it grow. In Charlotte, it was like, oh, another brewery's coming into a town, another coffee shop. But here it's like, awesome. Another person who is making a home in Winston-Salem, not saying they want to live here, and they're making their livelihood here. Yes, people only think people our age live here for a few years. But all my friends love it here. They do not plan on moving at all. It's just, and then personally, my husband and I are very involved in our church, and that has become a huge community for us. Mm-hmm. We host small group at our house once a week. We go to 2 cities.
Okay.
And we just
I always like
love
to get that. Yeah, I always like to get the plug out there. I've already told, when I interviewed Keith and Emily, I said, I can tell you what one of my questions is going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know very many people that are as faith-oriented in your business as you guys are, so we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Emily's like, I already know the answer to that. And I said, I knew you did. That's why I said,
so like I have met Emily through 2 cities and everything, and she also goes to Burn Boot Camp, and I go to Burn Boot Camp. Okay. But we just have found a home there, and it's just I can't put it into words. It's just
home. That's it.
It's just the people, but also you could say that about anywhere you live. It's really the people, and we just like how Winston-Salem is set up.
Now you know why I do the show. Yeah. It's the people.
Yeah.
So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, no, it was great to speak with
All right, so
you.
we're going to check you out on the Go To Winston-Salem or the Go To Greensboro. Stabler's going to put the links and everything in there. And we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. No.
Thanks. Thanks to my guest, Christy. Christy is, again, with the Go To Winston-Salem and the Go To Greensboro. We'll be back next week with more Camel City Chat.